Hey, my name's Alex, and this is where I talk about everything self-development and personal growth. Today, I'm going to talk about how literally everyone is just winging it. Um, just to jump right in, imposter syndrome is like huge for most people that are trying to grow in their career or just in anything that they're new to, right? And imposter syndrome is actually usually a good sign because that means you are growing, you're in a situation where you're uncomfortable, and you have the opportunity to grow. But it's actually really common. Like most people feel it at some point. And going back to like the main topic of this is like everyone is just tweaking it. Like your boss's boss, the CEO of Fortune 500 companies, they're just winging it. Nobody puts off the fact that they're just winging it, but they are. And that's literally how you grow in any new role. When you take anything on new, it's going to be uncomfortable and you're not going to know what to do at first. But having the skill to wing it, to literally just be able to figure out what you need to do on the fly is like one of the most important skills that I've personally found in my life is that like you can be thrown into the fire if you're able to wing it long enough that you don't end up drowning in whatever the scenario is, you're going to do okay. And then after 3 months, 6 months, a year of doing that thing, you're going to excel. And because you've excelled in that so well within a short period of time, in the lifespan of a 30-year career, you're going to get promoted again because you have the ability to just wing it and do what you need to do. Um, but I would say, in order to successfully wing it, you have to first be able to be uncomfortable. So the skill of growth is the customization of discomfort, right? So if you're okay with being uncomfortable, you can move into these scenarios where you have this hyper growth where you can absorb things that normal people wouldn't. And that's how people go from like the bottom to the top of a company. You can start at the janitor, and if you're willing to learn every step of the way and be uncomfortable and be humble enough to ask questions and be secure in yourself and who you are enough to ask the dumb questions to like really get into the nitty gritty and not just pass over something that you don't fully understand. That's where the real expertise comes in, and that comes like in a short time as long as you are asking the questions and doing the things that you need to do. And so to bring that even a step further is you have to be able to implement what you're learning right away. If you could read 20, 30 books on a specific topic, and you might know a lot about that, but there's a difference between a professor who talks about economics and a business owner who owns 10 businesses. Like there's going to be a huge gap in between those two people. One, the professor, all he did was study what economics is. Two, the business owner actually put into practice the things of economics. And so they're going to have wildly different opinions on things. And, you can make the decision on who you would listen to. I know I would listen to the guy that's actually doing the stuff. And so just learning isn't the full piece of the puzzle. You have to take what you learn and implement it. And that's where I would argue is like where the real learning and growth is happening. It's when you're actually taking what you learned and putting it into action. And we could go into a much deeper conversation in just about action in general. But if you're able to learn something and then turn around and put it into action right away, not only are you going to remember it better, but then on the second and third tries, you can tweak it and you might find a better way. And that's where the expertise comes in. When you have learned something enough to be able to start putting like oh, well, what if we did this? This might improve this. This might improve this. That's when you've entered the stage of expertise. But that's also the stage where you start getting comfortable. And when you're comfortable, you're not growing. And that's I still struggle with having being uncomfortable. Nobody likes being uncomfortable. But having the skill of growth is literally the being accustomed to discomfort. Okay, so if you're able to put yourself in these uncomfortable situations, that's always when you grow the most. That's why when you start a business, it's hard and it's scary because you don't know what to do. But guess what? Everyone's winging it, so why can't you too? Literally, everyone every new business owner is winging it. Everyone who has a college degree and got their first job, they're just winging it. Anyone who's a high school graduate and just got their first job in the trade, they're winging it. Even like even very high level tradespeople, like craftsmen, like master plumbers, master electricians, they have the foundational pieces that where they're working on more complex problems, but they're still just winging it. Like they have the foundational pieces where it's like, okay, this is simple. And the funny thing is like if you look at this through the perspective of like going through school, when you were in kindergarten, you were just winging it. And then guess what? In first grade, after you like literally just learned how to read, you're in first grade and now you're starting to read harder books. And guess what? As you encounter words that you've never seen before, you just wing it. Like you sound it out and you figure out, oh, like it kind of sounds like this. So I'm going to assume that that's what it is. And at some point in school, that creativity around just winging it tends to get beaten out of you, and that's why you can go from being in first grade like giving a very vague description of something and then coming up with something, and then you're a sophomore in high school and you have to have like 18 different like extra requirements and you still won't even understand the assignment. And that's just being able to wing it. Like that's the I'm going to harp this so much. You can easily go into like the next stage of whatever whatever the next step is for you, and if you just wing it, like have the skills to like, okay, these are what I need, and then be able to bother people and ask dumb questions and like be okay with like being the dumb guy in the room, because honestly asking those questions is one of the biggest things that actually makes you seem like an expert, because these dumb questions regularly expand into like better ideas. And so two really tactical things before I run out of time is like, first one is like, you don't have to be confident but to exude confidence. Wing it, say what you think is the actual answer, and if someone corrects you, which doesn't happen often, you just say, oh, well, can you explain that? Because I understand that differently. And then you still win because now you understand XYZ deeper and better because you just got a full-on explanation, because psychologically everybody just wants to prove everybody else wrong. And so they'll give really great in-depth answers when they're pointing out something that's wrong. And that's like, guess what? You're still humble enough to accept, oh, I was wrong about that. Like, please explain that. And so you still look good. And like in general, if you're able to be humble, be willing to learn, and being okay with comfortable, like the sky's the limit, man. Like just those skills alone, like you could have no skills at all and you could literally learn anything just with that, and be successful at it. Like not just I learn it, I kind of know about it, but you could be successful as long as you're willing to be uncomfortable and ask questions and research and find information. That's all I got for today. Thanks for watching.